There are some places on Earth you are not allowed to go to, but sometimes explorers go to banned and illegal places. Welcome back, Charlie here. Today we'll look at people who went to places they weren't allowed to go to and regretted it. From a couple who went to an abandoned cannibal island, to a boy who went into an abandoned house and never made it out. The first story we'll look at has this very scary and real video to go with it. In 1990, a man went down to the catacombs of Paris. The Paris catacombs are the world's largest underground cemetery. They were made during the 1700s when the city had a massive cemetery shortage. In the tunnels underground Paris, there are over 6 million bodies buried. It is illegal to go down there, but over the years, some urban explorers have dared to enter the catacombs. One such case happened in 1990. A man went into the catacombs with a black and white video recorder. The video starts normally with the man walking around the catacombs. He even picks up a few bones along the way. But as the video goes on, he seems to get more and more scared. He begins walking at a much faster pace. Eventually, he begins to panic and starts running. It's almost like someone or something was chasing him, although it appeared he was alone in the catacombs. Finally, he drops the camera on the ground and then runs off into the darkness. The video ends when the tape runs out or the camera runs out of battery. Fast forward 10 years to 2000 and this tape recorder was found. Some more urban explorers down below found the tape recorder and shared the video. It's safe to say this video is totally real. The man who filmed this never came forward, and many believe he was lost in the catacombs, never to be found again. Over the years, the skeletons of many explorers lost in the catacombs have been found. Sadly, that's likely what's happened to the man who recorded this footage. The most terrifying part about this is we don't know what the man was running away from. Many say that the catacombs are haunted, but even if you don't believe in ghosts, it's clear this man saw something that made him so scared he ran into a dark labyrinth never to be seen again. Now let's look at another place people were not supposed to go to but went to anyway. This is the abandoned island of Nuku Hiva. It is found in French Polynesia. In 2011, this explorer couple went to the island, but what they did not know was, on this island lived a cannibal. This couple named Stefan Rami and Heike Dorsch were from Germany. They traveled by boat to the abandoned island of Nuku Hiva. When they arrived on the island, they met a local named Henry Haiti. The couple made a big mistake and began talking to Henry. If they knew what his tattoo meant, they probably would have avoided him. He has a cannibal warrior tattoo on his shoulder. Henry said that he would take Stefan on a hunting trip. But a few hours later, only Henry came back. Stefan's girlfriend, Heike, asked Henry what had happened to Stefan. That's when Henry pulled out a gun. He tried to fire, but thankfully the safety was on. He then tied Heike up. Thankfully, Heike was able to escape and fled to police. A manhunt was then initiated for Henry Haiti. According to the Daily Mail, Henry cooked and ate Stefan. In 2014, Henry was sentenced to 28 years in prison for what he did. Now, let's move on to a scary story about why you should never go inside abandoned homes. On December 20th, 2019, 14-year-old Harley Dilly went to school. It was the last day before vacation, but the day before he'd got into a big argument with his parents. They had confiscated his phone, and that afternoon, Harley did not come home. Harley's parents called the school and they said he was there, but the school said they did not know where he went after school. At first, his parents were not worried. That's because Harley was known to run away after getting into big arguments with his parents. He would normally come back the next night, but this time, he didn't. So Harley's parents got worried and called the police. A big search party was launched, but Harley was never found. But 1 month later, the police went into the vacant home across the road from Harley's house. Harley had been seen on surveillance camera walking near the house. Police went inside and searched around the house, but there was no sign of Harley. But then in one of the bedrooms upstairs, they found Harley's jacket. It was right underneath an air vent. One cop put his arm inside the air vent and quickly pulled it out. The cop then said, "There's someone inside." Harley's body was then found inside the air vent of this house. But how did he get there? Well, it turned out Harley had tried to go into this house through the chimney. The top of the chimney was wide, but what Harley did not realize was the chimney got thinner as it went down. This meant as Harley went down the chimney, it got more and more narrow and he got stuck. He thought he was stuck because of his jacket, so he took it off and pushed it out of an air vent. But the chimney got thinner and thinner and Harley could not escape. Soon Harley was not able to breathe and sadly passed away inside the chimney. This is a heartbreaking story showing why you should never go inside an abandoned house. Now let's move on to an island you should never go to, but one that people have gone to anyway and paid the ultimate price. 93 miles off the coast of Brazil, you will find Ilha de Camada Grande, better known as Snake Island. This island is illegal to go to. That's because it's home to the most snakes out of any island in the world. The snakes on the island are the golden lancehead vipers, one of the deadliest and most venomous snakes in the world. And they are only found on this island, nowhere else in the world. One day a man on his boat was near the island when he saw a banana tree on the island was full of fruit. So he pulled up to pick some bananas. But as he was picking the bananas, he felt a sharp pain. He looked down to his rib cage and realized he was bleeding. He ran back to his boat to try and get help, but as soon as he got back into his boat, he collapsed and passed away. That's because if you don't get this snake's antidote in 15 minutes, you will pass away. There's literally a 0% chance of survival if you don't get this. And the nearest hospital is over 100 miles away. Another scary story from this island involves its lighthouse. A lighthouse keeper was given a job to work on this island. He brought his family with him, and for the first few years, everything was okay. But at some point, passing ships realized the lighthouse was never on. So they reported it to the mainland, who went to the island to investigate. When the officials got to the island, they found the lighthouse keeper and his family all deceased. All over their bodies were puncture marks from the vipers. It seemed they'd left a window open one night and the snakes had got in. The golden lancehead viper's venom actually melts your organs. It's a very painful way to go. And sadly, that is what happened to many people who dared venture onto this island. Finally, let's look at one more very scary story. This did not occur on land, but instead at sea. In 2003, Kurt Krull was a German engineer aboard a container ship. One day he was getting the ship ready in the engine room. He had to make sure something known as the scavenger air receiver was sealed. There are many bolts which seals this air receiver. Kurt was being quick and only checked one of these bolts. Him and his crew then left the engine thinking it was all done, but later on Kurt realized he'd only checked one bolt. And if something went wrong, then he would get the blame. So he went back down to check the other bolts. He did not want anyone else to know he was second guessing himself. So he had to do this alone. This involved him going inside the scavenger air unit by himself. Something that should never be done. A few hours later, it came time for the ship to leave. But no one had seen Kurt. They began searching and could not find him anywhere. But that's when one engineer noticed a rag hanging off the scavenger air unit. The chief engineer of the ship then opened up the scavenger air unit. But they did not open up the scavenger air unit with the rag. Instead, they opened up the wrong one. Kurt was not found and they had no choice but to set off for sail. So they fired up the engine and went on their way. But 2 days later, the scavenger air unit had to be checked. When they opened it up, they found a terrible sight. Inside was Kurt. When the engine started, the scavenger air unit began to heat up, meaning that Kurt was accidentally cooked alive. Just imagine how bad his fellow crew members felt knowing they accidentally took his life. But now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Comment below which was the scariest place on this list. Thanks for watching, I've been Charlie. If you want to see some short videos, then check out my second channel. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, then what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.